joining us. Just to let you know, we are going to be recording this webinar so that you can watch it again afterwards. If you've got any, hopefully that won't cause any issues because we can't see your faces and things like that, but just to make you aware that that is happening. Thanks for joining us today. We'll just give it a few minutes until everybody is with us, and then I will introduce our guest speaker. We've got a chat box going. If you wanted to introduce yourselves, let us know who you are and where you're from. If you make sure that you are sending your messages to everybody, all panelists and attendees, and not just the panelists, just change the drop down menu and let us know that you are here, and we can start seeing who's with us. Hi Ben from De Montfort, thanks for joining us. Who else have we got with us? Hi Megan. That's brilliant. So we're just getting a few more people in now, so we will just give it a few more minutes. Hi Angela, thanks for joining us today. Oh, hi Emily, I missed your message then.
Hi guys.
Don't forget to let us know what you're looking forward to at the weekend. Hi Charlotte, thanks for joining us. Looking after the Education and Welfare Advice Service, tough job. Hi Naveen, thanks for joining us. Just a quick reminder to everybody that we are going to be recording this session, and it will be on the website about this time tomorrow so that you can watch it again. We'll just give it a couple more minutes and then I will introduce our guest speaker and we'll get started. But feel free to chat to each other in the chat box just while we're waiting. Hi Josh. Let us know as well in the chat box if you've attended any other of the talks today and how you're enjoying the week so far. Okay, just a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. Hi Sophie and hi Jane. Oh, this weekend Sophie is going to the pub for the first time since March. Wow.
Oh gosh. To be fair, I went the other week and you feel like royalty because you sat on a table and there's no waiting at the bar, they come table service and it's great. You're like, why can't it be like this all the time?
Oh, brilliant. Right, I think we will make a start. I'm just going to start the recording. Just a reminder to you all as well, and I've said it a couple of times now, just for those who have just joined us, we are recording this webinar. It will be put up on the website tomorrow, hopefully, so if you want to watch it back you can do. So I'll just start the recording now. Brilliant. Hi everyone, I'm Sophie and I work for Coventry University Students' Union. Today we are joined by Lise Spanner, who is a Sector Improvement Lead at Student Minds. She's going to be delivering a talk and then we will have a Q&A at the end. You will see along the bottom of your screen, we have got a chat function. So in that situation, you can talk to everybody. Make sure that you are sending your messages to all panelists and attendees and not just the panelists. That makes sure everybody can see what you're saying. Have a chat throughout. We've also got a Q&A function. If you want to ask Lee any questions at all throughout the talk, please just pop them in there. I will look at them throughout, and then at the end of Lee's talk, we will go through the questions and she can give some answers as well. We'll give it a start. Anything at all that you need, I'll be monitoring the chat box, so just pop something in there. Thank you so much, Lee, for joining us today. Welcome to your talk. I will turn my video off now and mute myself, but if you need anything at all, just give me a shout, and yeah, let's get started.
Great, thank you, Sophie, and thank you to CUSU for inviting me along to speak to you all today. Seems like it's been an incredible week of events. I've been to a few myself. So yeah, and hi to everybody out there. It's a shame I can't see you in person, all your lovely faces, but I hope you're doing well after the last few months of chaos and still holding up okay. I'm Lisa Banner, Sector Improvement Lead at Student Minds. So I head up our two sector improvement programmes. One is the University Mental Health Charter, and the other one is our Student Minds SUs programme. And I'll talk a bit more about those two as the talk goes on. So let's move to the next slide. Yep. So I've been given 10 minutes today. So this is going to be a real whistle-stop tour around who Student Minds, the charity, are, and some of the work that we do, what we know about mental health and student mental health in particular. I'll introduce you to the concept of a whole university approach to mental health, which is how universities can start to create change in this area, and what student unions' role is in the mental health space as well. Throughout the talk, I'll be highlighting key projects we're involved in, ways that you can get involved as well, and any kind of key resources you can look at. And all the links to all those things are in the notes on the slides, which I'm informed will be shared with you at some point, as well as the live recording. And then at the end, we'll have a bit of time for a Q&A. So, who are Student Minds? Very briefly, we are the UK's student mental health charity. So we started just over 10 years ago as two student-led societies, really. One was a peer support group and one was a campaigns group around mental health. And we still run those groups today in various different universities and SUs across the UK. And we've really kept that student-led value at the heart of everything we do. But we have grown since then, and we work at the sector level as well. We work with student unions, universities and accommodation providers. We provide staff training and our improvement schemes that I mentioned before. We provide digital resources online, are involved in loads of different research projects and influencing policy at a national level as well. And straight away there, we've got a bubble about how to get involved. We are looking for a student trustee. So if you're interested in setting the direction for student mental health over the next few years, then do look on our website and get involved in that. Obviously, since the pandemic happened, we have pivoted and we have really focused on listening to staff and students across the sector to really understand their needs and experiences and how we can support them to support each other through such a challenging time. As part of that, we have published a coronavirus resource page on our website, which universities and SUs have been able to link to, which provides loads of different guidance for students around supporting their mental health and well-being during the pandemic. We've released some guidance for universities as well, which I'll mention in a bit. And really excitingly, we have been given a pot of money by the Office for Students to work with a range of different organisations in higher education and the mental health space to create a one-stop shop digital platform for students, which will kind of curate and bring together loads of different resources for students around managing their mental health and well-being and dealing with like online learning spaces and so on. They'll have access to various apps and preventative and therapeutic interventions and be linked to properly quality assured support services as well. So that should be a really fantastic space. I know the beta version is being launched in, I think it's the end of next week. So it's coming really soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And we also hope to use that platform to provide some real insight into what students' needs and experiences are, what are the things that they're needing most advice and support around. And we'll be able to gather that insight and share that with student unions, with universities across the sector, so that can inform your activities as well. So I thought we'd start with a brief introduction to mental health, just so we're all on the same page, because there are various different understandings about mental health and what it means. This is the model we use at Student Minds. There are various different models out there and no one is perfect, but this does help explain some of the concepts that we use at Student Minds. So previous to this model, people thought of mental health as being one of two things. You either have mental health or you have a mental illness. And we now know that it's more like we all sit on a continuum between those who have minimal mental health difficulties and those that are struggling with a mental health and may even have a diagnosis. And you can sit anywhere along that continuum and move along it throughout your life as well. And this is linked to your mental well-being, which we define as your kind of general ability to deal with the everyday stresses and challenges that life presents. And no matter where you are on that horizontal axis, you can have those days where you have minimal mental well-being, you're just feeling a bit overwhelmed and like you can't cope. And you can also have that optimal mental well-being where you're feeling good and feeling like you're able to cope. Even if you have a mental health diagnosis, you can have days where you're managing your symptoms and you are thriving. And the point is that although we want to make sure that students who have mental health difficulties and a diagnosis have access to really well-resourced, effective support, we care about all students along anywhere where they sit along this continuum. So we want to make sure that as many people as possible are spending as much time as possible in that optimal mental well-being space, and we're preventing people from moving into that bottom left quadrant where they've got mental health difficulties and they have minimal mental well-being as well. So what do we know about student mental health in particular? We know that the prevalence is likely to be increasing. There are an increase in the number of students declaring pre-existing mental illnesses to their university. That's more than doubled since 2014-15. And the severity is likely to be increasing as well. We know that more students are experiencing suicidal ideation, self-harm, and episodes of psychosis. We know that this is really linked with your educational experience. So students are more likely to withdraw from university, to underperform academically. They're less likely to secure high-level employment and go into further study if they are experiencing mental difficulties. And just too many students are taking their own lives. And this is more important than ever. So all the listening we've been doing with staff and students throughout the pandemic has shown that students and young people in particular have been more likely than the general population to be feeling anxious, hopeless, having suicidal thoughts and self-harming. They're more likely to be experiencing social isolation and loneliness. And we know that a lot of students have been struggling to find time and space to engage with those therapeutic interventions like counselling as well. So it's more important than ever that the sector as a whole and student unions, we really take mental health and wellbeing as a priority over the coming months and years. So all that data and all the facts and stats I've just shown you there, that's the best what we know, but there are massive gaps. It's the data there is flawed and it's really difficult to measure prevalence and severity of mental health and wellbeing. And we also, there's a lot we don't know about what works in terms of supporting mental health and wellbeing. So the Student Mental Health and Research Network, SMARTN, they are looking into these gaps and trying to figure out what works, and Student Minds are working really closely with them. They also have a student panel which sets the direction and the priorities of their research areas. So they will be recruiting a new one soon. So if you're interested in getting involved in the research side, do have a look out for them. We also have a research page on our website where we've got research reports on LGBTQ+ students, on academics and their role, on transitions, loads of really useful research there as well. So a whole university approach to mental health. This is answering the question, what do we do about mental health in universities? And we know that there are pockets of interventions and really good practices throughout the sector that are really doing some great work in supporting mental health and wellbeing. But if we're going to have long-term sustained change and positive impact in this space, we need universities to have a strategic whole university approach. So what do we mean when we say that? What we mean is that every aspect of university life has an impact on mental health and wellbeing. What a whole university approach does is says that we need to make sure that's a conscious, positive impact, and we're not just leaving it up to chance or potentially having a negative impact. And it means that we need to have effective, well-resourced, safe support services for those students that are having mental health difficulties. Of course we do. But we also need to be creating an environment and a culture that supports good mental health of staff and students, of all staff and students. and empowering staff and students with the skills they need to manage their own well-being as well. So throughout 2019, so last year, we went up and down the UK, did hundreds of focus groups and talked to literally thousands of staff and students about how universities can support mental health and well-being, and what this whole university approach looks like. And we published the University Mental Health Charter on the 9th of December last year. And that really does set out what we mean by a whole university approach. It identifies all the key areas in which universities have an impact on mental health and well-being of staff and students, and sets out some key principles of good practice they can follow to make sure they're having a positive impact. This year, we've been piloting an award scheme which will recognise and reward those universities that are demonstrating good practice. The idea being that then all universities will want to work towards this award and will have continual improvement across the sector. That should be launched in winter this year, so that's another thing to look out for. We're really excited about that. This is our guidance that we produced recently, and that basically translates the charter and all the new findings we've got about students' experiences during the pandemic, and sets out how universities can take a whole university approach to mental health and well-being in a post-COVID context, frames it in that way. So production, we know that listening to students, those that are affected by the university's practices and those that actually have mental health and well-being, listening to those is absolutely vital and essential to creating any effective mental health strategy or intervention. So we've created which offers guidance for universities on how to work with students and student unions to listen to students and make sure their voices are heard and central to those strategies as well. So that's another toolkit that you might find useful. So what can you guys do at student unions? Well, for the past year, we have been working with 11 partner SUs as part of our student unions programme. They're the trailblazing SUs that joined us and have been working with us to kind of set out and define what role SUs play in this space, and also help us to figure out how Student Minds can work with you guys to support you to do better and reach your full potential in kind of supporting staff and students in this space as well. So first of all, your role models for the sector. So there are things that you have been advocates for decades that are only just making it into mainstream policy discourse. So you are in a prime position for taking this initiative forward. You understand student needs and experiences because you listen to them on a day-to-day basis, and that is powerful. You advocate for students in the communities and in universities and empower student leaders to create that change that they want to see. You have welfare networks, liberation networks, sports and societies, and work on building those communities, that sense of connection and belonging that students need and is so, so vital for protecting our mental health and well-being. Your employers of sabbatical officers, but also staff members as well. And it's important that they have mental health and well-being, but are also able to support their students and their communities as well. And service providers. So a lot of SUs are involved in having conversations with students directly on a day-to-day basis about their mental health and well-being through their advice centres and other services. I also wanted to point out that mental health and well-being isn't just a narrow health issue or welfare issue. It cuts across everything that SUs generally advocate for and find important. You can't have good mental health and well-being unless you're looking at how university life impacts all the different members of your university community, and you're advocating for equality, diversity and inclusivity. You've got to look at those real core factors to our mental health and well-being, such as finances and accommodation, and also thinking about the curriculum and the learning environment and how that's built to support the whole human being to thrive, rather than just looking at narrow employment or attainment outcomes, as a lot of the kind of marketized version of higher education does these days. So really it takes all of the things that you care about as SUs, and all those things are really essential to make progress on in order to have a positive impact on mental health and well-being. So with our partner SUs during the programme this year, we've worked with them to set out exactly what a whole organisation approach to mental health and wellbeing looks like for SUs, and what principles of good practice you can work towards in order to have a positive impact in this space. And through those conversations, we've created the SU's mental health framework. So it's similar to the charter, but works for SUs as well. So that's newly developed, and it forms the basis of next year's SU's programme. So the SU's programme overall it's like a community that's designed to empower you and your students' union to become a leader in mental health. So as I say, it's built around the SU mental health framework, and we'll introduce that framework to you and support you to kind of work towards the principles of good practice within that. We've got monthly webinars where we'll link you to our network of mental health experts and researchers and explore key issues. We'll provide regular briefings and insights from all the projects we're involved with at Student Minds and all that research and policy we're involved with as well. Things like insights from Student Space, we'll be able to share some more insights from that with you guys. We've got network events and the digital platform, which will bring you together with other SUs in the community to share good practice, to share resources, to problem solve together. And we'll also give you access to bespoke training and support. So things like our peer support workshops designed specifically for student unions, things like our sabbatical officers. We've got a Look After Your SAB, which looks at sabbatical officers' resilience and mental health and how SUs can support the mental health and wellbeing of their sabbatical officers as well. And strategy development workshops, so how we can support you to develop a whole organisation strategy for mental health and wellbeing. And we've kind of redesigned the programme this year to be more responsive to what our partners said that they would need in a post-pandemic world. So it's much more responsive to whatever challenges, because there might be some unforeseen challenges next year because things are moving so quickly and they're going to be so different. So it's a responsive programme. It's based around bringing you as a community together to learn from one another and sharing our insights as much as possible from all the learning that we've been doing on that national scale as well. And it's mainly via digital as well. We've also brought down the price quite considerably because we know a lot of SUs are in a financially unstable position at the moment. So we've listened and we've changed the programme to suit you. You can find out more about that programme. So the application window's open now until August, and you can find out more at some of our Q&A sessions. So we've got one at 3 p.m. today. We've got one at 12:30 tomorrow and 10 a.m. next Thursday via Zoom, where you can come and just ask us some more questions about that. And you can find more information and a bit of a webinar about that on our website as well. So last couple of things to look out for. Student Minds are involved in the Office for Students Challenge competitions, which were funded projects looking at interventions that work to support mental health and wellbeing with various different university partners. So there's one that looks at mental health in the curriculum, transitions, graduate wellbeing, how we can partner with NHS services and international students. We are looking for an international, a student panel member for the International Students Project. So if that's something you're interested in, do get in touch with us about that. We also have a men's mental health project exploring how we can, how students can lead projects to best support men students' mental health as well. And we're looking for volunteers for those programs. They are currently running a podcast, which is really cool, and just had its first episode. So there's just another couple of projects. I could have literally packed this. It's amazing, actually, reflecting on everything we do and just trying to pack in the kind of key areas that we work in. But this is just highlighting some of them. There's much more to go and explore on our website as well. And finally, I just want to say about your own well-being. Do make sure it's a very tricky time to be part of the sector, part of the world, to be honest. And we're not going to support our student community's mental health and wellbeing unless we're looking after our own first. And you can find some resources around managing mental health and wellbeing on our coronavirus resource page as well. So do take care and take the time to think about your own wellbeing as you're dealing with some of these issues we've mentioned today as well. And thank you for inviting me. As I say, all the links to everything I've talked about today are on the slides, which will be shared with you, or you can just head to our website and see what you can find, have a dig around. And yeah, so happy to answer any of your questions. I know that was an overload of information at high speed. And hopefully you've had a bit of time to digest and are curious about some of those projects as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lee. That was really helpful. You've been very busy this year by the looks of things. Lots of opportunities, and I know you shared lots of resources there. So just to echo what you said, the slides will be made available to you all as well, so that you can look further into what Lee's talked about today. We have got a couple of questions in the Q&A box. So if you're happy, Lee, I'll read them out and then you can answer them. If you've got anything at all that you want to ask, now's your time to do it. Just pop some questions in. So I think we've got one from Sophie. Did you say you were looking for student trustees? Please could I have a bit more info on this, as our Student Mind Society members would love this.
Absolutely. I suppose the most I can say is head to the website where they've got all the details of that. If you go on our jobs and opportunities page, and the link is linked on the presentation slides as well, if you can wait for those to be shared around. So you will be part of our trustee team. So the Board of Trustees looks at kind of the very highest level of our organisation. And we are currently, it's a very exciting time actually to be part of it, because we're, well, once we've figured out what we're doing in this pandemic situation, we were midway through developing our strategy for the next 5 years. So really exciting time. You'll be involved in leading that strategy development as well. So you really will be setting the direction for Student Minds, but also what are the key priorities for shaping and supporting student mental health for the next 5 years. So that's really cool and exciting, as well as being involved in kind of the implementation stage of the really exciting student space project as well, which is by far the biggest project we've been involved in. It's like nothing before, where we've brought together so many different partners. So our Board of Trustees have been really instrumental in helping, guiding and giving us direction around that as well. As well as, yeah, just having that kind of high level view of how an organisation, a charity such as ours, works in such a key stage of our development as well. We keep growing. So in terms of just general professional experience, I think it would be a really cool opportunity for a student to get involved with as well. But yeah, you can find the terms of reference and all the job description and things like that on our website. We've only just opened recruitment. I can't remember when it closes, but you've got a bit of time.
Brilliant, thank you. We've also just got a quick question from Kat, who asked, when do the applications close for the Students Mind SU programme? Do you know?
Sure.
Will that be on the website?
I have actually got that information here. It's the end of August. It is actually. I've got the thing here. So these are all. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, why is that not coming up? Okay, so you can see here all the key dates.
Oh yeah, there we go.
It's gone. Sorry. I won't do that again. Yeah, all the key dates here. So Q&A sessions start this week, as I said, and then it's midnight, Wednesday, the 26th of August. We'll need from you your sign-up sheet, basically, and then we'll make sure we sign contracts and do invoices post then. So you've got a good bit of time there to take that back to your teams and explore that opportunity with us more. And definitely encourage you to come to the Q&A session as well and ask any questions that you might have about that.
Brilliant, thank you. And lastly, we've just got a question from Sophia, who says that she's booked in for the talk at 3 o'clock today. Where do we find the link for the Zoom?
Yeah, I think my colleague has just answered that question
in the webinar. Oh, brilliant, yeah, thank you.
She's got all the dates and all the logic there, so I just, yeah, so she says she's recently confirmation.
Brilliant, thank you, and thanks Amanda as well. Brilliant. Is there any more questions from anybody? We're okay.
Yeah, so it's just, you know, if I know that's a lot of information and you probably have more to ask and explore once you've kind of dived into some of that research and so on as well. Always happy to hear from you via email. Do get in touch with us and you know, have a chat and what have you. We're really glad to hear from anybody, especially SUs. There's a lot of people in our team, which is why we run the SU programme. We've all come from an SU background. I was a student officer myself, so I'll always give a preference to those emails from student union people as well.
That's good to know. Brilliant. Super. Well, thank you so much once again. That was a really good talk. I learned a lot from it. I'm definitely going to have a look a bit further into the things that we can get involved with as well. So I will stop recording now. Like we said, this webinar should be available to watch again around this time tomorrow, and the slides will be made available as well. But once again, thank you so much, Lee, for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Okay, thank you. See you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.